Hi, hello guys, my name is Mia Marie and you are currently watching my Synastry Compatibility series where I go through all the 12 signs, sun signs, and how they get along. Now, as a general disclaimer, we reference so much more than just the sun sign for compatibility, but the importance of the sun and understanding someone's sun sign and accepting it and supporting it is that the sun sign describes the motives, the behaviors, the experiences that contribute to someone's sense of sanity. So we're not talking so much about what someone needs emotionally or how they flirt or what makes them great in bed, all of those very, romantic topics. We're talking about how to support someone's vitality, someone's sense of self, and someone's healing human journey. So keep in mind that this is just a gentle introduction, and you can get so much more by booking a session with me or another fantastic astrologer. I hope you enjoy. Someone who is born with their sun in Aquarius has a soul that came into this world to awaken our consciousness. It's almost as if they have a different set of eyes than the rest of us. They see the world differently. And a lot of the time, stereotypical astrology is like, oh my God, you're trying to be different or you're trying to be unique. No, that's just the way that they see the world. And often it creates this immediate recognition that you don't fit anywhere. Aquarius doesn't fit in any specific space, and it creates social anxiety. They don't know how to act. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. There is an ambivalence towards being around people because they don't quite, it doesn't compute in their head. Their minds are like computers. They are the 11th sign, which means that they are the third, the eldest air sign. So they take the perspective, the information that Gemini collects. They know that they have a mind. And then they take the information that Libra collects. They know how to put themselves in other people's shoes. They know how to compromise. They know how to negotiate. They know how to establish trust. And then they go, okay, how do we get everyone to trust each other? How do we create a community? And how do we develop this community? How do we transform our experience of life together? How do we elevate everybody? The interesting paradox with Aquarius is that they are knowledgeable. They're a resource. They have leadership skills. They are often the people that others go to when they don't know what to do as it relates to a community or a group activity. They're human rights activists. They can find the gaps in structures. They know how to advance us in a very positive way, but they don't like being the center of attention. And oftentimes they don't like talking about themselves. They may feel internally like they don't want to attach to a label because they have a hard time accepting and celebrating the ego. They're the opposite of Leo. Leo is all about, here's my personality, here's how I shine. Aquarius takes that attitude but positions it towards the community. How can we shine? How can we develop? How can we be celebrated in the most honest and authentic way? And so you'll find that they're comfortable behind a computer or on a phone, but can be a little socially awkward. I think that they would feel socially awkward or as if there is never a place for them, even when they are in a community. And this feeling can be uncomfortable for them at first. It can manifest as social anxiety, and they may even avoid social situations depending on where they are inside of their head. But it serves a purpose. And that purpose is that you need to remain detached enough so that you can innovate, so that you can think your own thoughts, so that you can go off in your own direction. And oftentimes they're trailblazers, they're trendsetters. They are always 10 steps ahead of the community. And because they are also a fixed sign, they're stubborn, they are unmovable in that. They have to have a certain level of confidence in their ideas and opinions in order to say, no, I'm not going to conform. You are going to come here. And here's why you're going to come here. And this is how it benefits you. And this is how the human race is developing, whether you like it or not. They have this amazing ability to gaze into space and project a very clear image of a future that is totally within our capability. Like we can totally arrive to that space with them. I've said this and I will continue to say it, that even though Aquarius is an air sign, it is very sensitive. more sensitive than it realizes. And what happens when they're overstimulated is they become numb and they detach. This is the soul wound of someone who has strong Aquarius in their chart, because things are always changing, and because these changes affect so many people in so many negative ways that they feel equipped or responsible for repairing. They will detach from the part of themselves that cares, just to stay afloat, just to stay with the changes in culture and society. And so there is this robotic tone to them, or there can be just an obvious lack of emotion. You can be struggling with something and you can be crying in front of them and explaining all the which ways that you're heartbroken or let down, and just the opposite. You could be super happy about something and there's this robot before you like, I understand. The way of loving is that they've often researched what you're going through and what's going on in your brain and how humans typically act and how to repair that specific thing. And so they're able to like spit back this report to solve your problem, but it can be hard for them to stay in the emotion or to sympathize with you. And it's not a reflection of how much they do or don't care about you. It's more so a reflection of their internal state of being. It's hard for them to access emotions. Surprisingly enough, however, they make excellent partners because they understand the Libra lesson of trust and compromise. But they also are not looking for something hot and fiery, that flirty fling that Gemini wants. They want a friend. They understand that if they are going to commit to something long term, they have to be with someone that they like. They don't have to have the same interests, but this person has to be stimulating and intelligent and good-hearted and good-spirited. They want to be with their best friend. That is their ideal partner. And so they may hesitate to commit. I haven't heard too many complaints about Aquarius people not getting into relationships, but when they do, it tends to last because they do think long-term. And they often choose someone from I don't want to say non-emotional space, because the spirit, the soul does respond to people, but it's not so much about how you make them feel. It's that you guys are just so compatible with each other that it makes sense for you to be together. And that's why Valentine's Day surprises everybody that it's in an Aquarius season. But traditionally, that's when people were getting married. And statistically, Aquarians have the most success when they get married because, again, they marry for the right reasons. They're using their head and their soul together to make the just call. Aquarius and love, they will want to talk to you. They'll want to know what you're thinking, what you've learned, what is stimulating you. They're going to have those late night conversations. They're going to be very present with you. And again, not super emotional about it, but they are wanting to collect data on you. They're going to master you in one way, shape, and form. That's a kind of hidden quality to them, is that they're constantly collecting data on you. So they can put it into their computer and they know what to expect and they know what you want and they know where you are mentally, emotionally. And they're just so friendly. That's what it is. They're just so nice to be around. I don't have any complaints about an Aquarius. Now, some downsides to dating an Aquarius, or not downsides, but what they don't like, is they don't like somebody who is negative, emotional, or moody, because it flies in the face of their energy. And it's not so much that you affect their mood, it's like what you're saying and what you're doing is irritating and inefficient and a waste of time. And those are all things that they prize. They like being efficient. They like using energy positively. And if you're focused on things from the past or things that you can't control, then you're not making good use of this brilliant brain that you have. Another thing they won't like is if you're impolite or rude to other people, or if you don't care about social movements. If you are mispronouncing people's names after they've corrected you, if you're not in the know about what communities are working through what, or if you have a blatant disregard for the overall quality of humanity and people's lives, they will have no respect for you, because this is what their life is about. They are in service to people. They are trying to break the minds, the structures, that keep us bound and limited and trapped in a pastime. And so you embodying that energy, it's like, oh my God, no, you're the enemy, you're the foe. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. Uranus is the modern ruler, but Saturn is the traditional ruler. And so typically you have two types of Aquarius. And what's interesting is that they embody both of them at different times of their life. So either the Aquarius person comes in very quirky, atypical, doesn't fit in, and then as time goes on, they become more Capricorn-like. They're more serious and they're about the mission and the rules and following protocols. Or you have someone who ages backwards, who is all about the rules and tools and following what authority says and doing what you're supposed to do. And then they get really quirky in their older years. So it just depends. Now, going back to deal breakers, Aquarians are rebellious by their programming. They come into this world needing to stir shit up, needing to awaken our consciousness to pull us along. If it weren't for Aquarians, we wouldn't have women's rights. We wouldn't have gay rights. It's that energy that progresses us as the human race. And so if they are trying to rebel against a specific structure and they're starting to embody that rebellious energy and you shun them and you further ostracize them, if you are not a friend or an ally in their development and experimentation, they're going to want to leave you because they're stubborn. That's what they do. They dig their heels in. They won't be emotional about it. They won't yell at you. They won't raise their voice. They won't criticize you. They'll just sit you down and say, you know, this isn't working out. I don't think we're a good match. And they can do this because their passion is towards people, groups, social reform. And so they don't inherently want or see the need for a partner unless they have a partner who, you know, is truly a partner and shows up for them and supports them. Then they understand the value of that relationship. But until that point, if you're just a nuisance, if you're just another critic, if you're just someone who makes them feel more weird than they already feel, what's the point of having you? See your way to the door. Thank you. Bye. I will say this though. One thing that I've noticed through working with clients with Aquarius placements is that once they are in a committed relationship and they have in their mind said, I'm going to be with this person for the long run, if they actually have married somebody and it's not working out, it can take them a long time to actually leave. And it's because they're committed. They're stubborn. They're a fixed sign. They often do what they believe in. And I think that's kind of the lesson that you learn when you're with these types of partners is Aquarians awaken to their own unconscious motives through these dysfunctional relationships. They self-actualize through these relationships that don't work. But that fixed quality allows them to stay in relationships that they would otherwise recognize as unhealthy. But all in all, Aquarius is a great partner in, I would say passion, I would say play, but it's neither of those. They're just a great partner to have in life because they will commit to you, they won't play games, and they are focused on something bigger than themselves at all times. They want to make an impact. They want to help us all grow and develop. Someone who is born with their sun in Pisces has a soul that came to this earth to break down all barriers that stand in the way of oneness. Now, Pisces has a reputation of not having boundaries or lacking boundaries or having porous boundaries. And when you hold in mind what their goal is, it kind of makes sense that it's hard for them to throw up that wall because it flies in the face of what they stand for. They want to bring love and unity to everything. It's a very gentle, loving, accepting soul and energy. Now, this doesn't mean they don't need boundaries, but it means that there's going to be resistance towards them. Once you explain to a Pisces that boundaries exist to protect them and to shield them, it can act as a barrier between people's energy and them. Then they'll be a little bit more on board with the program. Pisces is ruled by two planets, traditionally Jupiter, and modern day says Neptune. So you will find two different types of Pisces characters. A Jupiterian Pisces, it has a similar energy to Sagittarius, where they're expansive and big and larger than life, but it's via their emotions. And they are a little bit more positive than what you would expect. They want to play, they want to have fun. The other Neptunian Pisces is more introverted. The first one is extroverted. This one is introverted. It wants to look on the inner world, not the outer world, and it wants to expand there. And there is They're a little bit more reserved. They're focused on like their artwork behind closed doors and their poetry and the ways in which they love themselves. It's kind of like they take that same energy that Sagittarius would in the external world and they project it in their home space, in their private life. And with Neptune Pisces, you often see someone who has almost Capricornian expressions where they fall prey to depression because they get stuck in themselves. They get stuck in their own stories and the depression manifests. And when depression shows up in someone's life, it's the soul saying like, I don't want to play this role anymore. I don't want to be involved in this life anymore. And at that point, when you have that awareness, then Pisces can adjust their schedule and use their energy in different ways to erase the depression that they're currently managing. So keep that in mind. Which type of Pisces do you have? A Jupiterian Pisces or a Neptunian? Pisces is a water sign. It's the eldest water sign, but it's also the most sensitive and the most vulnerable. And the easiest way I can explain it is by the symbol for Pisces. It's a fish. A fish has no protective layer. It goes with the flow. It has no choice unless it's swimming upstream, exhausting itself, trying to fight the flow of life. But Scorpio has that stinger. Cancer has the crab shells and those little crabby hands to protect itself. Pisces is out in the open. It is the depository for the collective emotion. Now, they're not going to think about it that way. You're not going to think about it that way. In fact, a lot of what they're processing isn't something that's directly happened to them. Oftentimes, you'll find that when a Pisces is weighed down or they're feeling a strange mood for a reason that they can't explain, it's because of something that's happening out in the world. Now, when this happens, it's important that Pisces meditates because that is the safest, healthiest way for them to process their emotions. The alternative is that they're paying attention so closely to what's happening. They're paying attention to the mood, the vibes, the smells, the way that you're carrying yourself. They're paying attention to all the things that you aren't saying and try to integrate what you are saying. And it creates this glazed over look as if they're daydreaming. But really, they're collecting so much information that you are not even willingly communicating to them. Now, when this happens, it can create a feeling of overwhelm and they need to leave the room. They are an introverted sign. Specifically, just Sun in Pisces is an introverted sign. And so what it will do in those instances is it will literally escape the room. But then once it's in its own room, it will either meditate and process the emotion, or it will escape through some kind of substance. So smoking, drinking, being on the computer for hours on end, watching TV mindlessly, to the point where they're getting lost though. And so you can create this habit of constant escapism to the point where you're never really rooted or grounded. And so when I say meditation for Pisces, I don't mean, doing yoga, your fingers are like this, you're like, in yoga pants, so religious about your practice. That works too. But what I'm saying is you need to bring yourself into a brain state where you can close the door, sit with yourself, and just feel and rinse. It's this internal process of you letting the waters that don't belong to you just whoosh, go right off your body. So Pisces are mystics. They're mild, right? They go with the flow. Now, because Pisces is a mutable sign, and this is true for all mutable signs, it's equally as important to look at where the sun is placed, like which house it's placed in, because the house will greatly affect this changeable energy. It will give it a more concrete flavor. But just purely Pisces energy is kind of a let go and let God type attitude. And what they're here to do is to develop a relationship with spirit. It could be religious, it could be spiritual, it could be whatever it is, but they are constantly striving to reach spiritual enlightenment. And the way they do that is by taking care of their body, taking care of themselves, but arriving to that space where they can prioritize themselves and their health before others. It's a journey. So this is someone who in relationships is willing to make the sacrifices to show up. They are caring, they're empathetic, they are good with emotions. They can sit with you when you are expressing, like they can see the most terrible behavior and not judge you because they see through to what you are made of, what your soul is, and how much you're struggling. And so Pisces can find themselves in situations with people who are dangerous or the bad boy. And they have this kind of phenomenon. This is true with Pisces men too, where they like the damsel in distress. They like saving somebody. And with women, it's like, well, if I just show up in this way, and if I just do this, if I just do this, then they'll change, and then the bad boy will be saved. The men are like, here's this damsel in distress. I'm going to help her because she needs me. And so that language can exist with a relationship with the sun in Pisces. So, being the eldest water sign, they have the qualities and strengths of Cancer and Scorpio, but they're not focused on themselves. They're not specifically focused on one relationships. They're focused on humanity, the universe, the ethers. They're going as large and as big as you can imagine. They're leaving this plane in so many different ways. And so, some deal breakers for a Pisces character is if you judge or if you try and stand in the way of their spiritual development. Now, I said earlier that they are sacrificing when it comes to relationships. This is not one of those areas where they're going to be sacrificing. A developed Pisces, if you are standing in the way of their spiritual journey, they will cut you off, because that is what gives them fuel. That's what keeps them sane. And so if you're not supportive of whatever philosophy, astrology, right before you hello, they're going to be turned off. They're going to think you're closed-minded, and they will feel unaccepted. And what makes that even worse is that they are so accepting that when it's not mirrored back to them, it makes it easier for them to step away. Another thing they don't like is if you're disrespectful to other people or if you treat other people poorly, specifically people who don't have the same resources that you have. So if you're rude to marginalized groups of people, or if you treat homeless people poorly or as if they're less than, they don't see, or they don't, they see it, but they don't subscribe to like the hierarchy that people are better than others. In their mind, everyone is the same. They're not going to bow to someone because of a specific title. They understand that when you walk out of your workplace, you guys are just humans face to face. And so if you insist that they take on the beliefs and that you subscribe to what the rest of society is doing, they're also going to turn away from you. And similar to that, if you are someone who lives and dies by your schedule, if you just do to do, if you want your day booked from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to sleep, Pisces is going to be repulsed by you in some way, shape, and form, because you're not taking care of yourself. There is no spiritual life there. You're just functioning to function, and you're forgetting to live and to exist. And Pisces needs the flexibility in a schedule in their day to go with the flow, because their feelings change. Sometimes inspiration hits them at the most spontaneous time. And if you are like, no, you said you would be here and we have to do this and this and this and this, they're going to feel as if their creativity is being squandered. Like you're taking away something quite precious, and it is precious for them. It's kind of hard to tell when you have reached a deal breaker with Pisces, because they're not so confrontational, specifically just Sun in Pisces, all other aspects ignored. They're not confrontational in that way. They don't want to feel uncomfortable. It's more of like a silent, I got it. This is who you are. These are the decisions that you make. And they will just not make time for you, or they won't show up, or they'll cancel last minute. They show that they care with their presence. And so if they continuously reject your opportunity or your bid for attention, it's either that they are avoiding reality in general because they're dealing with something privately that they're probably not explaining to you, or you've just kind of left a sour taste in their mouth and they don't want to spend time with you. But overall, Pisces are really sweet, accepting lovers. And the gift that they bring to you is some kind of like spiritual awakening, or some invitation to go higher, to elevate, to escape this reality that is so prominent and overwhelming. I will say, two fish, opposite directions. Pisces are known, similar to Gemini, they're known to have multiple marriages because they just change quite frequently. And there is this fickle quality and emotional instability, kind of like the ocean, always changing in and out, in and out. There is this quality to them. But that aside, it's not a reflection of you. That aside, when they are there and when they are with you, they want to gift you with whatever they have. That's just the way they are. Aquarius and Pisces, I love this combination together. They have enough similarities to keep a relationship intact, and they have differences that should be contradicting, but they actually surprisingly complement each other really well. So to begin with, this is the 11th and 12th sign, a fixed and immutable sign. The Aquarian one will be a little bit more stubborn in their thoughts and ideas. And again, Pisces isn't out here measuring dicks. So it's going to listen to what Aquarius has to say, specifically because what Aquarius is saying is interesting to a Pisces. Aquarians are focused on what's coming in the future, and they are considered visionaries. But when Pisces hears it, it stimulates that dreamer inside of them, and they can actually begin to visualize with the Aquarian. And so instead of the Aquarian feeling ostracized or judged, or Pisces just doesn't have the desire to pull Aquarius back down to earth. It's stimulated by where Aquarius is going. And so it makes a great best friend or companion. These two get along exceptionally well. And because they are both interested in things that are not normal, they're atypical, they're unusual, it's like esoteric, or they just find themselves being interested in things that the rest of society would look at and be like, whoa, okay, that's strange. Because they are both kind of flying a freak flag in so many ways, there is this genuine, authentic connection where they can show themselves to each other and know that they are going to be accepted. Now with Pisces, it's going to be completely unconditional. You know, they're going to love the Aquarian in whatever shape and form that they are. There will be some, and I'm only going to list this, I will list this for all Aquarius combinations. Aquarius cares a lot about the quality of humanity in general. It's focused on social movements, specifically marginalized groups. If you are dating a Pisces who is just not with the times, or is emotionally inconsiderate, or just blind to the circumstances of reality, the Aquarian is not going to like that, and they will be the one to disconnect the friendship or have a serious talking to with you. And if you don't adjust your beliefs and your ideologies accordingly, then they will cut you off. But because Pisces is a loving, mutable sign, it will sense the change in temperature in the room, and will make an honest effort to understand where Aquarius is coming from. And again, you know, Pisces can have kind of rose-colored glasses on very serious topics. So, you know, if Aquarius is talking about how passionate they are about rebelling against X, and Pisces is like, oh yeah, like I guess that is kind of an issue, but Pisces immediately sees the solution. So it sees that everyone is just one, and everyone should get along, and everyone should just love. And Aquarius is up here emotionally, which is very strange. So I don't want to say emotionally, but they are up here in their level of commitment and engagement. And because Pisces is resistant towards conflict, because they're wearing rose-colored glasses, their response is probably down here. In this space, air, this disconnectivity, this lack of communication, this lack of understanding is going to light an Aquarius up. Like, no, I understand. Yes, I see that we are all humans, that we all love each other, but this is a real life issue, and there is action that needs to be taken. And so you can kind of see Pisces being like, oh, like I said the wrong thing, or I did the wrong thing. But all in all, I do find they balance each other out really well, because Pisces can come to Aquarius with their dreams, and that is Aquarius's strong suit. It's all focused on aspirations and goals, but the difference is that it puts things to a plan, whereas Pisces just has dreams, and they go to that space and it's almost like they've lived it even though they haven't. And so the Aquarius friend will just say, well, like, how are you manifesting that? How are you, like, let's talk about it. How do you actually get from A to B to Z, or A to B to Z, A to B to C, and so and so. And then also Aquarius being a fixed air sign, Pisces is actually the remedy for all of the issues that Aquarius has emotionally. And by that I mean just solely an Aquarius sun is someone who utilizes detachment as a form to save themselves in the face of a society that is always changing. Aquarius is actually very sensitive to what's happening. And you can tell by the amount of passion and fire and energy that they allot to social movements. And so when things are constantly happening to people and people are getting the shitty end of the stick, Aquarius numbs itself out so it can't feel. And it thinks like, oh, since I'm numb, it just doesn't hit me anymore. I'm immune. But what's happening is that they're abandoning parts of themselves in order to stay alive. And so they're essentially staying in survival mode when it comes to their emotions. And Pisces is the one that goes, something's wrong. Like, that's not how emotions work. That's not how that's done. You can't just say, I don't care, and then you don't care. And there will be specific tendencies or patterns or qualities that an Aquarius will exhibit, and Pisces will call it out and say, I think that you're just not paying attention to your emotions, or like, let's unlock this treasure chest of pent-up emotions, or let's figure out like which part of you is acting in this specific situation. And so Pisces can bring the emotional intelligence that deeply frightens Aquarius, because Aquarius does have big emotions. They just don't feel well equipped, and as an air sign, they aren't as equipped to deal with it as Pisces is. And so they bless each other in that way. Aquarius can help Pisces think clear thoughts, and Pisces can help Aquarius feel safe enough to relax into emotions, knowing that they won't drown in the ocean. Drowned in the ocean. I will mention, if we have a super heavy Pisces energy, so someone with their sun, moon, rising in Pisces, and they are around an Aquarius, as they are experiencing their emotional highs and lows in relationship, they will feel as if they are abandoned, ignored, or just invisible, I think is a word to say, that they can just feel invisible in the eyes of an Aquarius, because even though Aquarius can sit with Pisces when they are experiencing emotions, and by that I mean when Pisces is experiencing a rough emotion, they often just give solutions. And sometimes Pisces knows that the solution is within inside themselves, but they just need to rinse. And that's another quality that should be discussed, or another part of the relationship that should be discussed. Pisces needs to cry. Aquarius doesn't like to cry. Aquarius has trained itself not to cry. And so when Aquarius sees Pisces breaking down, it's like, oh shit, what do I do? And the robot comes on, and it creates an unusual space for them both. But if they were to just go into it with the awareness of Aquarius, you just have to say, Pisces needs to cry, and this is how they stabilize. Not, I have to do something, not they need something. I mean, sure, you can offer them a hug, but you're not responsible for solving their problem. And when they're crying, it's not because it's so intense, it's just maintenance for a Pisces. Now, Pisces, you also need to understand that when an Aquarius is offering you information, when the robot comes on, it's not because of you specifically, or it's not because they don't care about you or love you. It's because they don't have access to that part of themselves. And so the way that they're showing up for you is the way that they show up for themselves, and they're probably doing the best that they can. Aquarians in relationships are looking for a best friend. If they are with you, it's because they like you as a person. And there needs to be patience allowed for them to begin to explore emotions. And this is kind of an area where you shine. And I don't mean to place all the responsibility on a Pisces to teach an Aquarius how to feel. But what I'm saying is, don't allow yourself to have the internal dialogue that says Aquarius doesn't care about you. Aquarius isn't here for you, because their way of loving is by offering you information, offering you solutions. And sometimes it is as strong as physical presence. Aquarians do have social anxiety, as does Pisces, but Aquarius can feel it in one-on-one relationships, especially when the emotions are high or they're deep. And so sometimes it's just a big enough win for Aquarius to show up and to stay with you as you're riding these emotional waves. But all in all, I love this connection. And if you would like to learn more about your relationship with an Aquarius or a Pisces, book a reading with me at willandrising.com. This is literally the tip of the iceberg, one aspect out of literally, I think it's 2,000. Your relationship is 1 in 2,000 and something. That's insane to me. A Myers-Briggs configuration. Excuse me. Like, it is more insane than any personality test that you could ever take. So yeah, if you're interested, you know where to find me. Toodles.